Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Business Morning on Sunrise Daily. It's business for just about 30 minutes before you head back to Kayla and Ayo on the Sunrise studio. So now let's start from the global space. Oil prices steadied on Wednesday as investors weigh the impact of potential U.S. tariffs. Once again, we're talking about tariffs, this time focusing on the Canadian and Mexican imports, while largely shrugging off an increase in the U.S. weekly crude inventory. Look at the numbers for this morning. It's not so different from what perhaps you saw at the close or towards the close of trade yesterday. It's down 0.2%, losing just about 2 cents at $77.20. You can say largely yesterday we saw it around $77. That's for Brent. WTI, however, is on the flip side. I'm sure a lot of activities going on around United States crude, and so we see it at $73.81 after it went up 0.1%. Benchmarks fell to multi-week lows early this week as news of surging interest in Chinese startup. Remember, DeepSeek moving a lot of markets for 2 days now. That low-cost artificial intelligence it prompted concerns over energy demand to power data centers, rattling the overall energy sector, while weak economic data from China further soared the demand outlook. U.S. President Donald Trump still plans to issue 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico on Saturday, while weighing fresh tariffs on China. It's a tariff regime, we're saying. Well, Trump did not immediately impose those tariffs as he had earlier planned, but said that he was thinking about imposing 25% duties on imports from Canada and Mexico from next week, February 1. Well, I think that's on Saturday, over illegal immigrants and the crossing into the United States. Now, we look at the Naira and see how that's doing, because there's the launch of the FX code. That's an initiative by the central bank to enhance trust and confidence among both domestic and international investors in Nigeria. So we see the CBN continuously putting in efforts, introducing new ways and new things and policies and platforms to help stabilize the Naira and win more confidence of investors on the Naira and block leakages. And we've seen, some movement or some positive recorded on that. So for NFM at the close of trade yesterday, there was no number available because of some of the changes, the code we just talked about. Or for NFX, we saw an increase. And of course, CBN, in between all of this, we will hope to see how it will affect the Naira today. So we only had for NAFEX, but we know that the major official platform is NFM, but we do not have a number available at the close of it. And of course, CBN, we don't have. But we see that the Naira is still around 1,005. Below 1,600, even though in the parallel market we could say it's about 1,600 as at the close of trade yesterday. And talking about the Central Bank of Nigeria, we see that they have approved the waiver of the 2025 license renewal fee for existing bureau de change, that's the BDCs. The CBN, which made this known in the statement, says that the directive is part of ongoing efforts to implement the new regulatory structure for BDC operations. It notes that BDC operators who have already paid the 2025 renewal fee are advised to apply for a refund. The Apex Bank reaffirms its commitment to promote transparency and efficiency in the foreign exchange market while ensuring compliance with the revised regulatory framework. I know the BDCs. There was success recorded yesterday in Tanzania. 30 African heads of state and government have committed to concrete reforms and actions to expand access to reliable, affordable, and sustainable electricity to power economic growth. They are also promising to improve quality of life and drive job creation across the continent. The leaders pledged their commitment in a declaration during a 2-day Mission 300 Africa Energy Summit in Tanzanian commercial capital Dar es Salaam. Mission 300 partners pledged more than $50 billion in support of increasing energy access across Africa. The Dar es Salaam Energy Declaration represents the energy gap on the continent, where more than 600 million people currently live without electricity. The commitments in the declaration are a critical piece of the Mission 300 initiative, which is supposed to unite governments, development banks, partners, philanthropists, and the private sector to connect 300 million Africans to electricity by 2030. The declaration will now be submitted to the African Union Summit in February for adoption. Well, from that, we see President Bola Tinubu has promised to achieve universal energy access for Nigerians by the same 2030, with renewable energy contributing half of that, 50%, to the national energy mix. He made this commitment at that event in Tanzania, that's the Energy Summit. President Tinubu outlined plans to expand electricity access, provide clean cooking solutions for millions, and attract investments in renewable energy to meet the nation's goal. The Mission 300 Africa Energy Summit brought together African heads of states, and we saw them there making commitment earlier. Now, after over a week since the Nigerian Communications Commission approved a 50% tariff hike for telecommunication companies, the Chief Executive Officer of MTN Nigeria, Dr. Carl Toriola, says that the implementation has not yet been approved. Dr. Toriola, who made this known during an interview with Channels Television in Lagos, also said that their proposal has been sent to the regulator.
The headlines for the approval were around the overarching tariff increase as approved by the minister. Now we've made our submissions to the NCC. They will go through submissions. They've been going through them in thorough detail to ensure that it's fair to consumers, that no one has an undue competitive advantage, and it will be approved in short order. And we're really being held to task by the authorities on this. With improved cash flow as a result of tariff increases, gives us the ability to invest, first of all, in a constant supply of diesel and ensuring our sites are kept up. Second is in expanding our network in areas where we have congestion. And third is in putting redundancy into place as well as customer management systems. So we're expected by the authorities to do that within a matter of months. And if we don't, we'll be held to account by them.
Well, telecommunications right there, and still awaiting. So if you have seen any difference in your charges, it's not the telcos. That's what they say. They're still waiting for a final approval to their products, proposed products, by the NCC. Now let's talk about something that's obviously very important to us. We will not be discussing it if it wasn't important, and that's housing. We've talked about how the real estate has overtaken the oil and gas sector, being the third largest in the country, talking about the GDP, contribution to the GDP. But I guess a lot of people will not be concerned about that until they can have affordable access to housing. And we've been talking about how that can be done. Well, the Ministry of Finance Incorporated, they now have the Ministry of Finance Incorporated Real Estate Investment Fund, and it's towards having affordable housing in the country. Let's talk about their plans on how they want to achieve this with Mr. Lubi Adekunbi. Mr. Adekunbi is from ARM. He is the head ARM investment managers. Good morning, Mr. Adekunbi. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning. So we now have we've heard of Ministry of Finance Incorporated. I was supposed to manage like the investments and business transactions of the ministry of the country.
Yes.
Now they have a real estate investment fund.
Yes.
Well, I know you're from ARM. We'll get to that, but could you tell us what this is about? This MOFI investment fund.
Okay, so the Ministry of Finance Incorporated Real Estate Investment Fund is a transformative initiative by the federal government of Nigeria aimed at addressing the housing deficit issue in the country. The implementation of the fund, is led by the strategic guidance of the Honorable Minister of Finance and the coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wali Edo. And the fund is positioned to address the housing deficits from two perspectives, from the supply end and the demand end. From the demand perspective, it's intended to provide low-cost, long-term mortgages to intending homeowners, and then to provide, on the supply side, to provide offtake guarantees to developers to ensure that they have the right credit enhancements to approach commercial banks in raising construction finance for the development of residential homes.
Okay, so help us to understand that approaching commercial banks, to raise finance. What does that mean, really?
Yeah. Okay, so if you're familiar with the housing market currently, most developers tend to sell their properties off plan, thereby selling units to people before they go into construction. And what happens in that instance is, because of rising inflation, those developers are unable to meet up with the demand of those who have made those payments because they do not have the sufficient funding. What the offtake guarantee does is it gives comfort to the commercial banks to be able to release funding to the developers without them having to make commitments to home buyers, right? And what that does is they get the adequate funding to complete construction, thereby making the properties ready on time, and they can sell at the market prices without them having to incur undue losses.
Okay, so are we saying that the government is coming to facilitate developers accessing funds through commercial banks for development? Is that
Absolutely, that's correct, through the offtake guarantee program. So what that does is an agreement will be signed with the MRIF, that's the MOFI, Ministry of Finance, Real Estate Incorporated Real Estate Investment Fund, and with that agreement, the banks, the developers are able to go to the commercial banks to raise the required funding.
Yeah, but I do know that the essence of this is affordable houses.
Yes.
Does this make it affordable? Because commercial banks will still charge high interest rates.
Yes. I mean, so the primary objective of the fund is to provide low-cost mortgages, which is at 12%, right? Currently, if you approach any commercial banks for mortgages, you are going to get a rate that is closer to 30%. So at 12%, it's significantly lower than half of what you will get from a commercial bank. But on the offtake guarantee end, what it does is developers are able to construct the residential properties within reasonable time, and the compounding effect of interest, if they don't have that guarantee to be able to repay the commercial banks ahead of time, also impacts the value of houses in the long run.
So is this fund already working? Is it going to be launched? Is it already available? Can people access it?
Yes, so the fund is a 1 trillion naira program being rolled out in phases. The Series 1 is the federal government's commitment through the Ministry of Finance Incorporated, which is 150 billion, and the commitment from MOFI has been received in that regard. The fund is currently in the process of raising its Series 2 issuance, which is seeking to raise up to 100 billion, subject to the Security and Exchange Commission's approval, and it's expected that the fund will go live in February.
That's next week.
Absolutely.
So who can qualify for this? How do they, reach out? How do they get?
Yes, so the MRIF is available for every Nigerian, and what we've done is we've created platforms for well-meaning Nigerians who want to participate in the fund to either go through the website, which is the
don't worry to be displayed. You just go ahead.
Yes, so there are different channels which are being displayed for those who are willing to participate in the program to make their inquiries and see more information on the fund. Okay,
so I see that's an email. So you just send an email to say you're interested.
So it's a form.
It's WhatsApp. A form, I also saw WhatsApp and then a website. So
yes, so inquiries can be made. So the website provides access to information on the fund, and then there's an inquiry form where those who are interested can express their interests, and as the fund goes live, they would have access to the properties that they can access for the mortgages.
So is there a type of property you say is affordable? Is it a 2-bed, 3-bed, a duplex?
So I mean, the provided that it falls within the available housing, the mortgage rates, the mortgage facilities that will
qualifies for, is that it?
Yes, absolutely. So from the estimates and from the research we've done and inquiries we've received, we see that the properties that will be made available or that people are interested in ranges between 1 to 3 bed, and these properties range between 45 to 60 million thereabouts.
And that's what people can qualify for, because you have to qualify. I think your age has to be taken into consideration. Yes. Your monthly or annual earning has to be taken into consideration.
Yes. Yes. So the income, part of the requirements for home buyers to qualify include their income, right? They have to be Nigerians. So the fund is for Nigerians in Nigeria, right? And to people in the diaspora, Nigerians in the diaspora can also apply. They also need to have, so for those who also want to use their RSA balance for equity contribution, they need to have a valid RSA account for that, and that the fund provides for them to be able to access their RSA for the mortgages.
So I'm sure for a lot of Nigerians who are watching, I mean, I'm a Nigerian, so I can tell you that when you hear things like this coming from the government, you're like, oh, don't mind them, it's their thing. Absolutely. It's going to be for their people. Yes. Because of issues of bureaucracy and who do you know, which button can you press, and all of that. How can Nigerians be assured that anybody who qualifies can actually go for this? So
as much as the fund is sponsored by the federal government, it's going to be completely private sector driven. Right, and the governance and operational structures. So the funds will be disbursed through commercial banks, right? The value chain, the private sector is completely involved. Our role that's
where ARM
comes in. Our role as fund manager is to ensure that happens. And we've defined a well-structured governance and operational framework, which has passed through all the different levels of the fund, and is currently being implemented to ensure that the objectives of the fund are met, in meeting the home ownership initiative that the federal government is looking to achieve.
So, Olubi, are you saying I know you now? I cannot cut, cut some processes and just get into this one?
Absolutely not. You go through the process.
Okay, so what's the duration of the processing? Because mortgages these days take years to process. Yeah. What's the timeline? What's the time limit that people can expect?
So what we've done is to create a platform that streamlines all the processes from the eligibility assessments for the individuals who want to access the mortgages. We already have a platform that has well over 2,000 housing units that people can apply for. We are also making provisions for the application of the RSA balance on the platform and the eventual application for the mortgages. So it's going to be a streamlined process. So without having to go through different parties or taking forms to different sites, it's going to be an online and seamless process that we estimate will take within 30 days to complete the process.
30 days is about 1 month.
Absolutely.
Nigerians are listening. Somebody can just hop in. I mean, you have your information scrolling, you have your WhatsApp and everything. So if I start this process today, which is the 29th, I should expect that, okay, we have February, maybe by the 1st of March.
30 days, absolutely.
I would know.
Provided that all required information and documentation is accurate.
That's the provided. Okay, that's the information, Nigerians. Yes. That's the website, that's the email. And Olubi here from ARM, it's not channel, says within 30 days, you should be able to know your position if you apply for this, and there's no man.
Absolutely, it's a fair process for all Nigerians.
Okay, I mean, if this is being kept, I'm sure it will be a pleasant one, even though the funding, and the requirement is still a major one, because when you talk about 45 million and all of that, and then I think you're supposed to do equity of 30%.
20%.
Oh, 20%. Now, how many people can really afford that? At the end of the day, but I guess it is what it is. Housing materials, building materials are really expensive. Cost of construction is also there. We're importing most of our materials, which is not a plus for anybody at all, especially in things like this. But anyways, thank you so much, Mr. Olubi Adekunbi, for your time. We'll certainly be following up. I'm going to send a message after this and see how long it takes. All right, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Yes.
All right, so yes, that's housing, obviously very important for everybody. The other thing that seems to be on every conversation now is AI, and say AI rules the world with the risks that come with it. But let's see how we can even apply, perhaps talking to ARM there, AI can help us maybe apply and find out if I can qualify for it. Well, let's talk to the country manager at Zoho Nigeria, Kehinde Ogundare, joins us right here in the studio. Talk about how AI is changing lives and can make my life better. Hi, Kehinde, good morning.
Good morning.
You're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so we just finished the summit in Davos, and AI was top conversation.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but sometimes you just wonder if Nigeria is right for it. But they say, according to statistics, that the machine learning market in Nigeria is projected to reach 0.57 billion this year,
yes.
2025. An annual growth rate of 34.6%,
yes,
resulting in a market volume of about 2.52 billion by 2030.
Yes.
Well, this is on paper. How real is this? Does this look, especially when you say that machine learning market in Nigeria should be valued about 0.57 billion this year, 2025?
It's very much possible. First of all, you have to understand that this is 2025, and a lot of businesses don't do business as usual. You need to find a way to adopt technology, and AI will significantly improve your efficiency. Now, when you talk from efficiency standpoint, people will see that you'll be able to do more, cover more ground, reach out to your customer, personalize their experience. You know, because I was telling somebody recently that in 2025, people are more concerned about their experience at a particular store than the good itself. You know, the experience and everything, and you'll be able to manage that and optimize that with AI in 2025. So yes, it is very much possible.
And there's this conversation that a lot of people are even using AI without knowing they're using. For instance, if you stay a lot on the computer,
yes,
now you have information just popping out at you. You want to write, they're telling you we can help you do this,
yes,
and all of that. And all that, of course, is supposed to make life and work easier and, as you said, more efficient.
Yes, at my company at Zoho, we believe that the best application of AI is when you don't know you are using AI. You know, because the AI is a buzzword. Everybody wants AI, but a lot of businesses today are currently using AI without them using it. When it comes to your sales management, they will tell you the right time to call your customer, the best time to send quotes. You know, they help you optimize that. They help you create data, make sense of that data, and then you can use that data to actually target your audience without you using it. So yes, and that is the best approach to using AI when you don't know you are using AI currently.
Yeah, but the risk, their fears, I don't know if that fear is still there, about unemployment it will create. And all that. I think that's for individuals who refuse to upgrade. I just have that notion, because human beings will write the program.
Yes.
Human beings will operate whatever machine, computer that has to be operated.
Yes, and also human beings, we are going to evolve. When we talk about efficiency, I use a particular example. Maybe 50 years ago, 70 years ago, we don't have calculators. People need to do the Roman numerals, I don't know what they call it again, you know. And now we have to evolve, start doing calculations that is above mathematics that you have to write down. So AI has come to keep you in line with what the new trend is all about. So it might not take your job, it will help you improve on how you deliver your job. Now, as human beings, you have to now evolve. You know, we have more time to focus on the business, to innovate. Like you said, you'll be at the back end instructing the AI to do a particular task for you. So it's not going to take your job completely.
But talking about that evolution,
yes,
that is needed for humans, and the realities of Nigeria, network, internet, electricity,
yes,
these are realities.
Yes.
And so sometimes it does make it look like when we talk about AI, it's just for the elites, you know, and not for the larger population who are not elites in the country.
When you look at the AI convention perspective in particular, the first thing you need to understand is that it's for everybody, right? You will probably need to write a document. You probably need to chat your customer. You probably need to engage in a particular activity or the other. AI is for everybody. But from the business standpoint, right, everybody in today's market is currently using AI without them knowing they are using AI. So because you're selling on social media, you have to send email to your customers, you are using AI without you knowing. Right, you have a particular tool you're using for your email marketing. How do you aggregate that data? How do you know that your email was delivered? How do you know your customer opened the email? How do you engage them to buy more from you? You know, you just click a button, and then you get the results. You don't know this AI at the back end powering all these things. So AI is for everybody, and the faster we adopt it, the better for everybody.
Yeah, but what will make me happier as a person is if we can domesticate a lot of these things, whether it's the software, whether it's the hardware, because this is employment we're looking at, and the more demand we place on this thing, the more we're improving another economy. We're just talking of what's that deep thing? Not deep fake, the one that China just introduced that's causing a war between China and US because it's cheaper, you know. But all of these things will deep seek, you know. Unfortunately, these things will have to be importing them. How much of it are we making ourselves, whether you're talking about the software or the hardware?
So I think the government is doing a great job in trying to sensitize people and also encourage people to go into that AI manufacturing and production in this country. I believe recently I saw an interview from the minister, Boson Tijani, where he said he wants to empower people and wants to localize these things. So these are things in progress. Right, we need to work. It's a process, you know. We need to just get to that point, infrastructure-wise. You know, we need to improve our infrastructure. We need to improve on that significantly. Then access to internet and digitalization in this country is still a little bit low. We need to get a lot of people online. We need to get them on the internet, get them access and devices that they can use to implement all these things. So we'll get there eventually. But I think we're on the right course, the right path to being independent of any foreign.
Well, I hope this 50% hike on tariff, you know, will not discourage people, even though the telcos are promising us it will help them improve their earnings, their infrastructure, and better quality, which is at the foundation of, you know, all the AI conversations that we have.
Yes, I think from the business standpoint, it's very important. Currently, the economy in Nigeria is not really looking great. You know, inflation rate is at all-time high, so they need to improve that. And because we also demand from those people to give us better internet, better network, better coverage, so I think it's not going to deter anybody. In fact, I think we've seen an increase in internet users in the last 2 years, more than before. People are getting to understand that there is no way you can be analog and be updated. So you have to be online on your mobile phone, on your computer, and everything. So I don't think it will be a problem in our movement.
So we have the problem of data privacy and data protection. That's a big one for us.
Yes. So Data Privacy and Data Protection Act was enacted 2 years ago, 2023, I believe. And I think it's very fantastic. It was modeled against the GDPR we have in Europe. So I think we just need to find a way to enforce that. And I also feel like a lot of businesses are also sensitizing their customers to let them know the importance of data privacy, data security. So it's porous, but then when, as an individual, it is a responsibility to take care of your data to make sure that you are not overly exposing yourself on the internet.
Yeah, well, we always discuss all those little ways, you know, change your password or make it come on, even though those things are not so.
Two-factor authenticator, for example.
Two-factor authenticator and all of that.
Yeah.
But we'll keep on talking about it and hope that more people, you know, will get into the fold of the internet and all of that. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Kehinde Ogundare, Country Manager at Zoho Nigeria.
Thank you so much.
All right, so just before we head back to the Sunrise Daily Studio, just tell you that market was negative yesterday. Since the previous session positive, then profit taking came on, and 0.44% in the red is what we had, and then we lost the 104,000 level, closed at 103,958.75, equity at 64.156 trillion naira, and activity chart was mostly green, only deals were in red, but deals are looking so much these days. 15,000 plus is what we had yesterday. Banking, well, interesting counter, we know that is very liquid, but yesterday they were in the negative, except oil and gas. Oil and gas was the only. I think Aradel had great movement yesterday and drove that oil and gas counter to the positive. Top trades were from the financial, the Fugas, the big guys there. Access Sterling, you know, Sterling is not part of Fugas, and then Zenith Bank, but that's it. That was the top trades for yesterday. The financial is always the top. 1 p.m. Ladi will be here. I'll also be here to give you intraday market numbers, not from the NGX today, but right here from the studio. That's 1 p.m. Business Incorporated. I'm John Mekwa. Talk to you later.